then we're going into depression. But you're allowed a period of depression. That's the thing. Just because you're depressed does not mean that you automatically want to unemployment. You're allowed a period for that. It's only when it comes to the point where you're not doing anything life is. You can't take care of you or just someone else that you're supposed to be taking care of. You can't do that. Now we're coming to being clinically depressed. And being clinically depressed is what we should have.
Where's the line? How do you know? How do you know? Is there a normal depression versus
yes, it's
clinical depression? How do you know?
Depression. You just were diagnosed with something that you never had before. And sometimes this makes us think about, life. How long do we have? What is my life going to look like? So yes, that's depressing. Everybody has depression. It's to that point where I say when it crosses the line where now that depression can't get you out of bed at all. Doesn't allow you to bathe yourself. You don't want to leave the house. You don't want to talk to anyone. You're slowly becoming a recluse. That's when it's getting really bad. That's when you know it's time to ask help. And the question was, what do you do? Well, first of all, being that's important. It's always great to be around people who can support you, who can understand what you're going through, because I know that's one of the biggest things. Trying to tell someone or talk to someone who doesn't know what you're going through can be really important. Especially when they keep questioning you and you're saying, well, can't you just do this? You're like, no. Sometimes we can't explain things that are going on with our bodies and how they feel. But when we're in a room full of others that are similar to us, it's very comforting. So I would like to commend you all for being a part of this group, because that's a step to keeping yourselves healthy and not going into depression. I would gather that in this group, if you realize some of your members are gone for quite some time, you guys checking in on each other, that type of thing, sure to see what's going on. So that's perfect.
So what about de-stress thing? I mean, down there, we covered the first event. What about relaxing? How do you relax when you're feeling depressed?
That's easier said than done.
Right.
And I would say that I would implore some people to help with that. Especially if you're in a home by yourself. If you're in a home by yourself, it can be difficult to get yourself out of that state. You be telling yourself, all I need to do is just get up. Because one of the big things about helping is moving. Even if you're just walking around the house, keep yourself active. It's not to be anything stressful. Making sure that you're eating and eating something that's good for the body, good for healing as well. But if no one is in the home with you, I would ask someone to be your accountability partner. Someone who's going to check up, who's going to come over and, you can tell them anything. Yeah, I'm doing it. Someone who's going to come over and make sure that you're actually getting on the bed, you're actually moving, you're actually part of some type of activity. Because we need that push sometimes.
What about the next one? If you're still working, not even patients who retire, but we have people who come in who are still working. So when I had my first time, I was still working, and going to work, it just seems so surreal. With science today, I was back at work a week after all this happened. And I was sitting there like, really? Am I here? Is this a dream? Did I die? And I'm just imagining that I'm at work. Like, how could this be? How do you deal with that?
I think the biggest thing with that, if you're still working, is to be transparent with your coworkers or your boss, letting them know, because even though you came back a week later, there could be times where you need to go home. You can't complete the day. And if you don't tell anybody or let them know what you're struggling with, they can't help. So, and I think a lot of us think, well, I had time off for surgery already. I've already used my FMLA, my sick time. But if you can't do the work, if you're going to pass out, what good are you to them anyway if you're not going to be be able to complete your task while you're there. So be transparent with everyone. If you need to sit down, tell them I need to sit for an hour. If you need to go home, if this needs to be a half day, you need to let them know. And if there are days where you get up and you're supposed to come in and you're just like, I can't even see, you not understand. Then you can call them and say, I'm saying, to be true.
How much of that do you do before you realize you tell?
You're not. When you get to the point to tell anyone what's going on. This is why I think it's important to have that accountability person, that someone want to check in on you if they haven't heard from you or someone daily. So just make sure everything's okay.
That is just,
Yeah.
there's something therapeutic about it. It's your mind. It's another world to be in. To manage those feelings.
You're absolutely right. Working does take your mind off of it. I just want everyone to be conscious of the fact that your body tells you that you can't. So if it comes to that point where it's been too much for that day, just listen to your body and bow out. But by all means, just go to work because you don't want to sit at home and think about it all day. And if you're able bodied, go. But always listen to you. It's one thing to hear your body, but listening to it, actually doing what it's instructing you to do is something different.
I think there are a lot of people that I've seen after surgical procedures or hospitalizations or that type of thing that are very anxious about getting back to their normal routine and I've got to get back to work. I've got to be, they're going to miss me. I can't be gone for that long. But you're absolutely right. You kind of have to listen to yourself and say, it's okay. I can take another day. I can sleep in a little bit. The earth is going to continue to, circle and rotate. The day will, the sun will go down and then it will come back up again. But it's hard if you are very engrossed and ingrained in that your habit to take a step back and look at it, from a different perspective. But sometimes for your physical well-being too, you really have to take that time. It's hard to do.
It's a milestone. Start slow. Go back to work. You can't go back to work for 8 hours the first time. I know knee surgery or knee replacement is something like heart surgery, but I had my right knee replaced 2 years ago, and I tried to be back to work in 2.5 weeks. Like, someone could drop me off. I didn't have to drive, but 3 hours in, my body was like, I had to go. So I think I had to work part time for the next 2 weeks because it wasn't ready. It was time for me to come back full time. So you have to.
Even if you're not working, and you're just used to doing certain tasks and moving around, and I've got to make dinner for my family, kind of a thing. Sometimes you need to step back and have Uber bring it to you. No, it's okay, and it is okay. Once you're doing it like several weeks in a row every day, yeah, that's a little different. But it's hard. It's hard to not feel like you've overstepped that line. A lot of people are like, no, I don't want to fall into that bucket of that suddenly this downward spiral. But it's not. It's paying attention to what's going on and taking it day by day in little increments.
I know it's being independent and being able to do it themselves. Don't like others have to help all the time. So that's the thing that pushes us to. But again, take help. If somebody's willing to do it, help do whatever it is you need to get back stronger to the point where you don't. And I know that's a lot of things that swirls around that. That's a big part of depression too, that thought of feeling hopeless. No one wants to feel hopeless. And so when you're sitting in a space where, you know, someone has to help you get out of bed or help you walk, or you were fully capable of walking before, but maybe you have to use a cane for a little bit, you know, maybe you have to sit down all the time or having to wait for someone to drive you around. That would drive me crazy. I drive myself crazy. Having to wait for someone to come and pick me up and be on their time. Absolutely.
I had 6 weeks of that.
Oh,
And I had to sit in the back seat, and because of the airbags, and so I felt like I was being here to school every day. I was like in the back seat, listening to their music.
oh, no.
No control.
Oh.
We're some of our worst enemies. Really are. So it's us being in our head about this is the way it should be. It's like this before the surgery, it's like this before the diagnosis. I need to be the way it was before. And sometimes we never go back to that. We have to learn how to do the new way of life. That's hard. You know, it's hard, you know, kind of like the whole pandemic thing. You know, they go, okay, wait till it gets back to normal. No, it was never the way it was before. And us understanding that the way that we live now after a diagnosis or surgery, it's our new normal, it's our new way of living. And the more that we can buy into that, it also helps with the healing and depression.
Hey, Damita,
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Do patients typically seek you out, or do you get referrals from cardiologists and people like that feel that their patients have depression problems?
Usually it's the patients themselves, but I've had colleagues who had the doctors actually reach out to them because their patient was not, they were in denial. They didn't think they needed help, but their doctor understood that they did. So, yeah.
Our company, one of my problems was my first time was people being too nice and saying, "Oh, you look fine." I was 5 minutes from dying. Like, I don't feel fine. I feel fine. I want to chest pain, but at the other level, I'm like, well, it's 5 minutes away from dying. Now that's happened twice. Today I had the stress test. They were trying to get me there again. There you go. After a while, like, I really annoying. Like, I really would like some of those people to just come up and hug me and say, "Thank God you're still alive." But no one got how serious it was because I don't have any visible scars, and I have no cast or anything like that with my leg. And you have a scar, but I bet you're not showing it to too many people. I don't know, maybe you are.
I know, becoming an exhibitionist.
Yeah, because they need to understand how serious it was. It's almost, it sounds weird. I know, but like, I don't have anything to show people, so they don't understand.
So that's a big thing with mental health and why sometimes people don't take it seriously because it's invisible. You know, if people don't see the big ticket mental health issues, like someone's being psychotic or something like that, they will have depression. You know, you don't see depression as someone is curled up in the, you know, fetal position. That's not how it works all the time. So I will ask that people explore, be honest with people around you. That they know certain questions or certain statements, do that. Or would you prefer them to do or ask? I mean, sometimes they'll know what you don't know, and sometimes, unfortunately, people really don't know what to say. And so they end up saying things that don't make sense or may annoy you because you don't just know how to support people without saying something. So you end up saying the wrong thing.
Would you,
Like, I think for many people, and I have a friend who, like many people, hate Trump, but I get these lectures, and I'm not trying to support her, just she likes to talk about it, and I don't know how to tell her, I can't take this. Like, I can't do anything. I'm not going to go to a march, even if I did. Is it going to help anything? And it's just this constant. So I really don't know how to tell this person. Like, I appreciate your views, but I just can't hear them anymore.
You said it right there.
Okay.
What you said right there. I appreciate your views, but I really prefer us not have this conversation. Yeah, it's
That's very well put.
very well, okay.
There's
Would you-
sometimes it's just
would you-
talking out loud that
Oh,
helps you come up with it.
yeah. Michael?
Yeah, would you say there's a correlation with people who have had depression problems before their surgery, that they're more likely to have depression after a serious heart procedure than others?
Absolutely.
And the other thing that's striking to me is most, like myself and other people I know that have gone through serious heart procedures, go to cardio rehab typically. Where you get on a tread, you're hooked up and you're exercising, et cetera, et cetera. But nobody ever talked to me about the psychological part of it, which surprised me a little bit. Now, I did not have any depression problems, but a lot of people I know that have gone through these have, and they've always said, yeah, they recommended cardio rehab, but they never talked to me about maybe what my new life would be like, or how I might need to make dietary changes, or how I could still live a normal life and live to 100 years old if I take care of myself. So it's I don't know if that's something that's going to come in the future, or if that's just the way it's going to continue.
They do, Michael. They are bringing in a little bit more of a post-surgical awareness, I guess is the best way to say it. There are, particularly with open heart surgery, being on a heart-lung pump, a bypass pump, is shown with studies to induce a chemical depression. It's temporary. It's, people are just like, it's almost like that kind of, realizing that your lifespan is limited, and, we're all going to end at some point in time, but that reality sets in, and they have recommended exercise actually is one of the number one recommendations to kind of get out of that chemical depression that people see post-surgery. So that it is, cardiac rehab sort of is been pushed in that direction, but they discourage people from starting any type of antidepressants right after a major surgery, and particularly one where you're under anesthesia for an extended period of time. Now, there are instances where they will start people on antidepressants before surgery. So when I got my diagnosis of breast cancer, my doctor said, I'm sending you to a surgeon and I'm putting you on an antidepressant. And I was like, I'm not depressed. And she's like, oh, you have a lot going on in the next several months. And she was absolutely right. I mean, there were ups and downs, and I was extremely thankful at that point in time. But so there are some situations where they are proactive about it. But there's also other situations where they try to be a little bit more reactive, because they know that after the procedure, after you've gotten through that major episode of having the diagnosis, having the procedure done, and then we say, okay, great, we fixed it. Then you gotta continue to live, and your life is going to be very different. So that's one of the things that cardiac rehab is. You guys, a lot of people here have done cardiac rehab. And it's not just getting on a treadmill and exercising. I mean, they have some educational things. You're with a group of people, they have music playing. It's supposed to be a mood lifter too.
I'm not getting paid for this, but Angel left.
Yeah.
Angel, him. Mm-hmm. He was incredible. And he had all these videos and everything. I always go back to it. I drink water and water weights and that. Because what they do, they saved my life. Seriously, he's gone now. He's up near Galena now.
Yeah.
Guadalupe, all the people I with, because it is so draining. It's so stressful. And I can't say enough.
Yeah, they do. And Charlie's still there.
Yeah.
There are private companies too that do, exercise programs for particularly for heart patients that have worked in cardiac rehab and then kind of started their own business. And then Evanston, the city of Evanston has great programs. The Levy Center is amazing.
That's why I came here, because I'm from the Levy Center.
Yeah.
And
They have all sorts of classes and programs. You gotta be motivated to look for it. But they had this summer they had a walk-through wellness program that we were involved in, and they had just really fun, interesting, getting involved types of things.
and for social, and it's only, here in Evanston, remember, it's only $52 a year, not a month, a year. And I was there today, and like what you were saying, they just had a thing on, it's unusual, because I came here, on Channel 9, they had a thing about depression, just what you were saying, both of you. The first thing is exercise. And so, we go there every day. No one feels alone there, that do a little until you work out. Actually, they're thinking, we're thinking of expanding it, knocking it out, and get to that next thing, because, the DMV's there now.
Yeah.
And that's created a lot of headaches. That's a crazy place.
It used to be an outfit where we were in the civic center, and they were there.
So now they have,
Are you talking about the Levy Center?
Yeah,
Okay. So I want to make sure I know you're talking.
no, 300 Dodge, and they have an outdoor area. A lot of people don't know that. If you just drive by, you don't see it. There's James Park right there. But that outdoor area is unbelievable. People are every day. And we talk. Actually, I feel like I'm at the Levy Center right now. We talk about our problems, so a lot of times people say, you're working out too hard. You shouldn't be working out that. And, what I did my whole life, and I said, whatever you feel comfortable, and, after this meeting, I might go back there, it's beautiful. I can't say enough about the theater center. And, but that's not the only one. And then just quickly, I just wanted, I'm not promoting, I'm patron stuff, but, How Not to Die, there's a website too, because it's another key thing about depression is your diet. Sugar.
Who's the author?
Michael Greger, and he has a website, and he has videos on there all the time. You can pass this around. Seriously. And I think you're right, communications, and I just want to say one more thing. My wife says I'm an attention seeker, but I'm not.
I am too.
Just one more thing. I had a widowmaker heart attack, and they rushed me here, and Dr. Levy said, who does this stuff. Yeah, they called him in because this was late at night.
Which doctor?
Levis. And they called him in on a Thursday night, and usually in the hood we called, Friday Junior Thursday, because everybody's looking forward to the weekend. And so they called him in. He was saying, well, I got my Thursday night, I just do Friday, and then I got my weekend. And he had to deal with me that night. And he saved my life. My lab was 100% blocked. It was 100% blocked. And if they didn't put that stent in that night, I wouldn't be alive. And that's the last thing I'm going to say is, I know this may sound crazy, but it might be one of the best things that ever happened, because it made me appreciate my family, life. Because I don't like to say this, but I made you reset. Yeah, I don't like to say this, but a lot of people consider me pretty much a jerk. And so when I went through that, it made me change. Think differently. You think you have all these days. Well, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be alive. Seriously. So, and you guys do some incredible work. That's it.
That's a good segue, because I was going to say, when we started this chapter 8 years ago now, we resolved that we would rotate topics every month between cardiology, the medical side of it, that brings in incredible speakers from the department here, but also lifestyle, because so many people I did rehab with were starving. They were wondering how they should eat and how they could walk, how much exercise they could do. And then psychological issues too, because everyone, did you know Denise in the rehab center? She might have been going.
Yeah.
You knew Denise, right? She told me one time, she's like, 90% of the people who come in here know they're depressed and the other 10% are lying to themselves. And I don't know, that's always been my motto when we look for speakers like yourself, because at some level, I think we're all dealing with it. Nothing else to shock them. I often go to the rehab center to recruit for the forest, and I can see the shock on people's faces still, and that was me, twice. I've been there two stints, and when I visit people in the hospital, we can tell too, right? Like, some people are feeling pretty good, some people are still in shock. And it's hard for them to realize that. So health speakers. Go ahead, Mike.
Everybody's got really, I think, a different perspective. In my case, sort of like what you were saying, I actually, my father died at 41 of a heart attack, widowmaker. His father died at 54, widowmaker. So when I had triple bypass at, how old was I? 64. And I had always taken care of myself. Basically, I looked at it as I've got a second chance, which they didn't have. So I was positive about it. And my surgeon, who was wonderful, Debbie, you know Jonathan Summers? That guy was just every which way. Beside the job he did on me, everything about him we loved. But one of the things he said to me after my surgery that really hit home, it's sort of funny in a way, because I was saying, so what do you think? What's going to happen from here? And he says, well, you go through cardio rehab. And he said, here's the deal. You're likely not going to die from this. Something else will get you first. And I actually looked at that as a positive. Because my weakest point is probably my heart, just genetically. And having him fix it, I just look at it as I got a second chance. And I never even realized how many people have depression issues going through it. Because for me, I never even realized it until my general practitioner, when I went to him after my surgery, he says to me, so how you feeling? And I said, and this was like 2 months after my surgery, I said, I'm going through rehab. I feel pretty good, actually. And he goes, no, I'm talking about mentally. And it's the first time. I've been going for 20 years. He never asked me that before. I said, I'm feeling fine mentally. I have no problem whatsoever. So I never even realized that people walk around depressed after this. But I know with John, when we do these visits, some of these people are, gung-ho. They can't wait to get home, go through rehab, and they're positive. And other people, but the other thing is a lot of these people have other things wrong with them. It's not just heart. They've got diabetes, and they've got this, and they've got that. But, so I don't know, I don't think there's one, everybody's different. But I do think it's wonderful when doctors like Dr. Summers at least tells you things that make you feel good. Like, you're going to lead, assuming you don't eat, double cheeseburger and French fries every day, you should live a long life from here. So I think some of the doctors do a good job of that.
I think one of the things that's really, really important to remember too is when coming from a clinician, I'm going to tell you what are in the guidelines, the recommendations, how you eat, how you sleep, don't smoke, avoid a lot of alcohol, exercise every day, those types of things. But you want to have a good quality of life. And I always tell people, I'm telling you these things because these are, they're written down. This is what has been handed down for generations of how to have a good, healthy heart. But when it's your birthday, you have your piece of birthday cake and your glass of wine. And it's okay. you want to have a good quality. The quality of your life is really important. And if you want to go on a vacation and get a great restaurant, 4 nights out of 5, that's okay. Just realize that you're also taking some medications that might be impacted. You're probably going to have to do a reset, but you want to also have fun. You don't want I've had a lot of people who are like, I feel awful on this medication. I'm like, okay, well then we know that we shouldn't be giving you this medication. We're going to try an alternative. And they're like, but you told me I was going to die if I didn't take this medication. Like, I never said that. Might have been somebody else who said that, but we try to get you on a good regimen, but if you can't tolerate the regimen, we still want you to have a good quality of life. So definitely let your healthcare provider know if all the medications, all the list of things that you're doing, you're not feeling good on them. And if you have a good clinician, they're going to look at ways to make the quality of life better for you.
Sometimes depression also comes from the routine.
Yeah.
You hate the medication, you hate what you have to do. And you have things you have to do, and that's where a therapist comes in sometimes. Therapy doesn't always mean you have to do it for years, for months. It's situational sometimes. Sometimes you need someone to help you see a different way, someone who's going to say, I hear what you're saying, I understand it's difficult, but what would you rather have? Help you see things, more about helping you see other ways of life and not just what's put in front of you. So sometimes therapy is not always needed, but it's a good thing to have.
I want to get back, I think, to one more question there. See if anybody who wants to ask. But what about the caregivers and their mental health? Again, this is different than the disease where someone might be confined to bed and to be fed. This is almost more psychological.
It's compassion fatigue. It's the name for it. So it's compassion fatigue. It's normally with caretakers, whether they're official caretakers or people who have been placed as the one who is taking care of someone else. And compassion fatigue is different from just regular fatigue, because regular fatigue has to do with exhaustion, not wanting to do your job or work and do things. Compassion fatigue deals with getting tired. Also feeling helpless, that the person that you're helping may not be getting better, and you're helping them. That's not your job, right? You're there to assist them, but or feeling bad for them, but you're starting to lose yourself because now you're doing all this caring and doing all these things, and seemingly it's not helping your patient or your loved one. And so now we're moving to the compassion fatigue. And just like with anyone else, seek therapy. Take care of yourself. The biggest thing is taking the person who is the caregiver, you have to take care of yourself. And I like to give people that example they give when you fly, and the flight attendant says, if that mask drops down, you have to put it on your face first before your child or anyone else. If you're no good, you're no good to anyone else. So definitely caretakers need to make sure they're checking their temperature. How am I doing? If I need to get some mental health therapy, or check in with a friend, make sure you're eating right. Because sometimes you're doing so much work caretaking, you're not thinking about yourself either.
There are medical respites for caregivers that people request. So if you are a caregiver to somebody, health insurance will cover someone taking your job, so to speak, or your responsibilities for a little while, so you can cover it. And it's called a medical respite. Certainly, they need a break. By all means, definitely make sure that you're taking care of yourself.
How long has that been about, medical respite?
As long as they've been doing heart transplants, because I know that that's kind of the primary where it's kind of initiated. They certainly always had it at children's hospitals for parents and things.
Is Medicare different?
Yes. Yes. Well, As of right now, you do. That may change, but we'll find out.
Any more questions here, or if anyone at home wants a question, you can turn off your mic and just ask us, or just put it in the comment section, and I'll see it in the chat section.
This is what respite, is that, do they need at the end of it?
Yes. I believe it is.
I have a question, from a caregiver's perspective, we started the meeting talking about having money, making sure that if you were depressed or if you were making towards depression, that there was somebody there to be accountable. How do you balance that with the compassionate aspect of being a caregiver?
So I would say that the caregiver is not the buddy. So when I suggest that you all have a buddy, you have a caregiver, someone outside of the caregiver who's more like a friend, a family member, that type of thing, because you can't get both. A caregiver can't do both. They can't be the caregiver that's buddy, because that'll take a long time. I would suggest that the caregiver also check in with someone as well. Have someone to make sure they're checking them, especially when you're working with a patient like that.
Seems hard to know when, if you're the buddy, when to push and help that, push it out to help that person, but that comes across as being, you don't understand, you've never been in my shoes.
I would say allow the loved one that you're trying to push that space. Like, so if it gets to that point where, they're like, hey, you don't get it, they're becoming frustrated, let them have that moment, let them have it. Let's try again the next day. Because sometimes it's like that, but I wouldn't say give up. I wouldn't continue to push in that moment. And depending on, the person, depending on who it is, maybe some hours later you can come back. But if not, definitely, just leave it alone for the day and try again. Now, if it's ever to a point where you keep trying and they're not doing anything, declining, now we have to constant communication.
Questions from any of our news visitors?
Any questions, John?
Anyone at home? Are we good? Michael, do you have any more questions?
So we can last presentation.
Yes, so we have one more presentation.
Yes, I know. I was trying to use it.
I know you're like, let's give it to my caregiver. Not a buddy. Okay, one more presentation for the, sure.
Yes,
Good to see you again. Come on camera, you have to come on camera.
Is this what I signed up for?
Everyone's famous here, there you are. So introduce yourselves, tell everyone what you do.
Hello, my name is John Rivas. I am a director of operations for the Cardiovascular Institute across Endeavor Health.
Yes, I think you helped us get the tour last.
Yes, a lot of
Yeah, a lot of them were on the tour.
Yes,
The tour and cookie exchange, which
Yes.
is cleverly combined. Endeavor Health obviously has done so much for cardiovascular care. They let us start this chapter many years ago, thanks to Debbie's help with people in the administration here. That does not always happen with mental rights groups trying to find help, and we appreciate that more than I can ever tell you. So we have nominated the system several years in a row as the Cardiac Hospital of the Year. The award is called Hospital of the Year, but it's for systems as well. And this year you have won the Midwest Regional Award, and I actually got Endeavor Health on there because we're keeping up with it. And you actually won last year too. We never gave you the award, so you get a double header.
Decorations on the new CDI, so we wanted to make sure we gave you both of the awards
Yes,
at the same
yes,
time, so you can put them
yes.
on the wall there.
We have plenty of space.
2 years ago, Endeavor won the national award.
Yeah, that's still
And
here.
that's here
but
somewhere. Yeah, that's the display somewhere.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you for everything.
Thank you all. Thank you, Debbie. And this is tremendous. Very honest. Thank you.
Thank you again. Yeah, so we gotta do, you've heard how,
On that same token, I'm very lucky to work with people like Debbie and Dr. Rhoda saying, Dr. Sommer, it's an amazing team here, and while my role is in the numbers and outside of the, the life-changing work, it's just an honor to just be a part of the team. When Debbie asks for something, it's an honor for me to help because they don't want to be. So it's so good to see you all, and this group is so strong, and that awesome banner outside. I turned the heart walk around.
Yes, I was
so
gonna
just
say, you guys
fantastic.
are doing the heart walk again.
Yes. Our heart walk is in 2 weekends. Yes. And they have a North Shore, North Suburbs walk. So the past couple of years, it was Friday at Soldier Field downtown. I'm so sorry. Friday at Soldier Field downtown, and Saturday somewhere in Old Brook, DuPage County. They have that same stuff. And now Sunday, they'll have a walk at the Medline campus in Northfield. So very excited for us, North Side of downtown. So again, thank you so much. You, John.
Okay, that's our last order of business. Thank you so much, everybody.
So next month, sorry. So next month, our topic is actually going to be on something a little unique. It's called cardiac amyloidosis, which is a specific diagnosis. And we have in Endeavor, the nationally recognized expert, Dr. Natasha Sarswat, who they work with, and it's wonderful. And she's going to be here and kind of go through and explain a little bit of that. She's involved in a lot of research projects with the University of Chicago. So hopefully we're going to get a big group. They also have a amyloidosis support, patient support group that works through the University of Chicago. So we're going to try and make it come, but it'll still be here and via Zoom. What's the date? So,
The second Tuesday of
I think it's the no.
I think it is the 14th, because I just told Dr. Brown, but yeah, it's the 14th. And if you're wondering what that is, the Times just had a big story on that, and also the Tribune had a story too.
Yeah, 10 years ago, the diagnosis probably didn't exist outside of research. Very, very up and coming condition.
That should be exciting. And speaking of that, we're about to start thinking about topics for next year, which is the last thing I wanted to say. We're going to be meeting soon. If you have thoughts on things you want to hear about next year, email me, email Debbie if you have her address, most of mine.
Or if there are community events, because we've also been involved with a couple of community events that, bringing out our mended hearts.
That is actually something I was working on today. But we have a grant writer now for a chapter who has worked with chapters on the East Coast, and she's been nice enough to volunteer with us. So we are applying for grants. We want to do at least 4 health fairs next summer where we have nurses from North Shore take people's blood pressure and we give out information about blood pressure and heart attack prevention. Because we want to be more proactive to help people before they're coming into service. I feel like our meetings cover people who have been here, like all of us, but I want to reach people before they get surgery, hopefully prevent some surgeries. So we did it this spring at an event that Evanston had at the high school. And we took, I think, 44 blood pressures in one afternoon. So I thought that was a big win. So I've been applying for, today I actually applied for 4 Walmart grants. But I found out Walmart, each store gives out grants. So you can apply to every store they have in the Chicago area, which is my eventual goal. But right today I did the 4 North Shore stores. Because we want visit nurses, you have to pay for tables. A lot of the fairs are for-profit events. They have one at the community center. So I haven't applied to see how much that costs. Usually the fairs cost $500 or $600 for a table. Carolyn's on the board of Elder Works. They have one on Health and States that we do every year. We want to buy tables and a few of these next year and staff them up and try to prevent heart attacks too. Not to take work away from your guys. I'm sure they would agree.
I always get in touch with John when we need our, stress balls.
Yes. So that's kind of so by any chance anyone's involved with the foundation that does grants, let me know that. That's about it for me. Any good now?